Bar. How you doing, Johnny?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad we could find the time to do this. The main topic for today's podcast is why choose computer science and what's the purpose of it. So, Johnny, as a computer science major at ASU, why'd you even go into that terrible dark field of algorithms?
Well, back when I was a naive senior in high school, I thought just the fact that I can download a file flawlessly from the internet meant I was fit for computer science. Entering the field, that is not what it is at all. But I'm glad I did it because I feel like through algorithms, I understand the world better and I can most definitely solve problems like quicker with a more exact solution.
Mm, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. For me right now, I'm doing an online class. I'm just auditing it. So, like, right now we're doing graph theory and like optimizing how to get from one place to another. And that's really interesting. Just like putting, like, I never knew how to put like code into like a map or like a graph, but like it makes sense using classes and whatnot just to like get it all down. So, so what so freshman year, you get in, you cry, like all of these hard classes. Uh, why didn't you just quit? Are you just insane? Are you like just
I think just the whole situation, it doesn't really have to do with the major, more it has to do with like me. Like I'm not a quitter by any means. I don't quit, I don't cry, I don't whatever. Cause the way I see it, that if I waste my time crying, that just prolongs my victory, you know? Like
Mhm.
those that hour that I spent crying about a code that isn't working is an hour that I could spend on the actual code.
Mm.
And I don't know. I actually really like, although that it wasn't what I thought it would be, I actually kind of liked the idea of like making stuff because on the side, I'm an artist and I just really enjoy like building things from nothing into what they are now. And I just wanted to just keep going and see where it takes me.
So like building things from the ground up, I usually want to like make my own database or make my own API or like just build from the base ground, but I then realized I realized that's a whole lot of work. And that's why GitHub and Stack Overflow exist. How often do you look at Stack Overflow?
If I had a penny for every time I looked at Stack Overflow, let me put it to you straight. I could pay for my tuition in full without my scholarship.
Goddamn. For people that don't know, Stack Overflow is like a quorum where you can ask a question about code, and then people call you stupid. That's a stupid question, and then they answer it for you. And then you just copy and paste right into your IDE, whatever you're using. So uh, beyond that, what kind of software do you use for like uh, whatever you're trying to code? Like, what's your favorite? Do you like IntelliJ more like Eclipse or?
I honestly, that's a tricky one because basically for every language, I use something different. Like for Java, I use Eclipse. For C++, I use Visual Studios. For Swift, I use Xcode. And honestly, I would say try and find one that you like the back of your hand that works with as many languages as you're willing to learn or as many languages as they offer because it has gotten so crazy on my computer with all of these different softwares that it got to the point where I was like writing my code in an online compiler, which was not safe because if something happened, like it crashed, none of the code would be safe. Like, I had to copy and paste it to a sticky note. And it was just so annoying. And now I see like, oh my gosh, an actual place to put my code is handy. Oh my gosh, GitHub instead of a bunch of sticky notes on my computer is handy.
Okay, let's talk about GitHub. GitHub is an amazing place for all software developers and people that just want to create a little website in their front end business. Do you have any public GitHub repositories where you store little tiny projects?
Not really, and that's where it gets kind of unsafe, because GitHub does seem like really good and handy, but unless like I'm directly collaborating with you, I probably wouldn't make anything public for the sake of academic integrity, because like just recently I found out that if you have a public GitHub repository and it kind of helps on an assignment for students either now or in the future or something, and they directly copy your code for whatever portion, that can lead to them getting an academic integrity violation. And even if it's like 5 years down the line, you're graduated, everything, they can still give you an academic integrity violation, even though you're graduated, and like null that credit for that specific class. So I would say better safe than sorry. Just leave it private. I know that sounds kind of horrible, but unless it's purely for fun, if it's for any academic purpose, just leave it private.
Okay. I was wondering about that because there's so many people doing computer science, but there's no public repositories for like any of the classes. And I was just wondering about that. That's smart. That's a good way of ASU making you work, actually, not look up everything. Where did you first start, like, get into the idea of computers and like computer science? What's your origin story?
Well, like I said, I thought I could download a file flawlessly, but I guess it would be in my STEM program where we had to build an app. Well, we actually had to build 2 apps, one for each year. That's what my group chose to do. And while we didn't get really far on it, I actually really enjoyed the whole process and I wanted to learn more about it. And like, I was still a baby, like CS, and I was doing like little projects here and there. And when I say little, I mean little, like, I mean incredibly little. But it was still really fun. So I was like, okay, why not pursue this?
Okay. Yeah, I totally get that. For me, it's more like a challenge that I just want to like create something, but I don't have. So like in Minecraft, I'll build a house, but I don't make a pretty house. I make it functional. You know, like just beyond. Like, have you ever made Minecraft in Java? Yeah, I. It's an interesting activity to say the least because you have to work with a two-dimensional space and then do random generation. That might be a little cute project you could do. Um, for my class, it's not really like make Minecraft, even though everyone gets hooked into it. Like, hey, you can make Minecraft. It's like, no, you're going to be learning how to deal with arrays and all of this mathematical, like big O computational runtimes. Uh, so, what kind of algorithms or like processes do you use the most? Do you use merge sort? Do you use any of these practical algorithms, or do you just get into the abstracts?
So you're gonna learn, if you're a computer science at ASU, you're gonna learn a lot of algorithms. And each one is just used in its own class. Like merge sort, heap sort, like all of them are used in like CSE 310. And then like first and follow sets or CSE 340 and all that stuff. And with each algorithm, depending on your teacher, but I think most teachers would do this, is that you learn it in theory. Like I would need a whiteboard and I have a set and then I produce the first and follow of that set, but then I have to code it too. So you have your physical homework, which asks you like to theoretically do it by hand, and then you have your project, which asks you to produce a code that would do it for you.
Yeah, that's really smart of just doing theoretical and then build onto it. That's how I learned how to do normal mathematics. Just like get the concept down, that's the hardest part, and then work, and then get stuck for like 5 hours on how to code it, because almost everything's a recursion process, and I hate it so much. So for you, in the game plan for your computer science, what is your ultimate goal? So like for me, I want to work for Google doing hardware on quantum computers. What is your like mountaintop?
That's kind of a tricky question. I've known so many people in this field who like they enter and they want to do the most like minute thing. They're like, it's either this or nothing. I want to do this specific thing. For me personally, I just choose not to look at life that way. I choose to just go with the flow and whatever opportunities life throws at me. If I want to take them, I'll take them. If I don't, then I don't. So I guess I would just want to like work in a field and in a place where I feel comfortable, I feel happy, I'm confident sharing my ideas and like able to grow. Not really more like I specifically want to do this. It's just I want to be happy, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, happiness above all. I really hold that as a core value.
I
Happiness.
know how cliche that sounds. Don't get me wrong. I hear it.
No,
And I'm
no, I'm serious. Yeah, if everyone just put happiness, the world would just
oh, you know.
Yeah. So where you are now, do you have you tasted like front end development, back end development? Like have you gotten to taste little nicks and knacks here and there?
This year specifically, oh my gosh. I'm not going to lie to you. This was the worst year of my life. Because this year specifically, like junior year, and really specifically second semester, like spring, like prepares you, kind of not prepares you, but like you start off here, like your whole time at ASU. This is like your end of your senior year. Then this is like first semester, like of junior year, and then it goes so high up for second semester junior year. And they know, like I knew this semester was coming from the very beginning of my major. They literally told you every time I went in for an advising appointment and every time I went into tutoring, every time, like I don't know how, but this semester came up about how this was the worst time in everyone's life for CS. And as much as I hated it, I really did learn so much about like front end, back end, like everything. And I discovered that I actually really like front end because I'm more artistic. Like I said before, I'm very like design oriented. Part of me wanted to do graphic design when I was going into college, but then I was like, you know what? There's a $20,000 pay gap, and I kind of would like a nice house and a nice car, so I'll do computer science and maybe go back later for graphic design.
Exactly. Yeah. I was about to say like don't waste your time on graphic design, but you know what's up. And I kind of knew that answer going into it. Like front end is definitely where it's at, where everyone's eyes just hit.
Mm-hmm.
So beyond like HTML, CSS, there's I don't want to touch JavaScript just because there's so many libraries like Node.js and all of the others, and it just gets kind of wonky, and I just get lost in all of the little tidbits here and there. Have you touched Ruby, the language, or like we were talking about that one framework? What was it called?
Swift?
Yes, Swift.
That, like Swift specifically, I actually really like, and that's a good place to learn for beginners. It is unfortunate that you need a Mac. Like I did not have a Mac, but I had bought one for this purpose, and I absolutely do not regret it because it was a good like stepping stone from just purely doing code and like C++, like Java, like all of them, into getting to see front end, and you design it. You design your front end and you code the functionality in back end. And it was so nice. It's like kind of drag and drop, so it's really easy. You get to kind of like connect it in like an elementary way. So for anyone who's starting out who just so happens to have a spare Mac, I would 10 out of 10 suggest it.
Yeah, the problem between Microsoft and Linux and Apple, they all have their own little tweaks here and there. Like Apple only does, like if you want to code mobile games, that half of the market is already in Apple, well, more than half. So you might as well just buy a Mac. Have you touched Linux? Have you touched virtual machines? Have you, like?
That is a very touchy subject. No pun intended. It's weird because I bought a Mac, but my main computer is an HP Spectre X. So nice. I freaking love it, by the way. I don't know why though. I'm trying to run Ubuntu. Everyone says it differently. I say Ubuntu. You know what? Sue me. But it was getting very, I don't want to say incompatible with my computer, but like it just wasn't working. So I was trying to do like VMware on my Mac. It also wasn't working. I was like, is it just me? Is there literally something wrong with me? Is there something like, I don't know. And I even asked like the tutors, I asked the TAs. No one could figure it out because they were just, what? I was like, yeah. But eventually we got Ubuntu on my HP. Sadly, everything that needed Ubuntu was over with, so I never really got to experiment with it. I know.
Yeah.
But hopefully more stuff just come my way, or I find like other projects and stuff. But for now, I'm experienceless in Ubuntu, but I am learning a bunch of Linux commands because those really help. Really help.
And the main Linux terminal that I use is just Bash for GitHub, because, well, it's running on a, so if I want to run Linux commands, I use git bash, but then I try to do the same thing in command prompt, and it's like, not found, or this doesn't work, and I'm like, come on, just give it to me. So all the experience in terminal commands definitely help out, especially if you're going into like cybersecurity. That's a ton of like terminal commands, and I thought I wanted to go into that, but I don't, just because there's like all these different like libraries that you can use, and I just don't want to waste my time with
Let
that.
me ask you a question.
Okay,
what
go for
do you
it.
want to go into?
Okay, so originally, if you asked me this 6 months ago, I would say machine learning and AI, but now I kind of shifted towards like data science, and just like, it's kind of similar to machine learning because it's just a bunch of data, but I want to just taste everything and see what I like. I know I don't like front end because I am not artsy at all. I can be functional and I can make really beautiful code with comments sometimes, uh, but I'm more of a back end developer. That's the experience I have, and I just don't want to touch CSS or Node.js. I tried Swift, I really did, but I just I can't do it. That's why I tried Unity, the game engine, and I was like, I'm gonna make this game, and I just followed the tutorial, and I can't make anything similar because, one, I'm learning C++, and two, it's just a bunch of libraries and methods from that. So front end is not my deal. Back end is where I like so far. So like PHP, Python, C++.
Got you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna go into computer science with a minor or a double major in mathematics, and a lot of people do that. I hear because I
I
love
think.
math, but like, yeah,
Oh, sorry. What?
I like math, but I don't know if I want to spend so many credits on math.
Here's the thing that nobody tells you, and I think it's important for people to know. I chose not to do this. I really don't know why. Like, if you want a math minor as a CS major, you already take 4 out of 6 of the credits just because you're in like a major. So the only thing that you would need is 2 additional credits, and you have a math minor, and you're good. I mean, not
Wow.
2 additional classes. Sorry, I
Right.
meant 4. You would take 4 classes, and then you need 6 classes for the minor, and so you just need 2 more classes. I think they're each 3 credits. Maybe one is 4, but I didn't look into it too much. But if you are interested in it, I say look into it because it's so much better if you know going in that you want to pursue this minor than, you know what, I just woke up one day and I'm going to go talk to my advisor about pursuing a math minor. No.
Do you have any minors in your college right now for you?
For me personally,
Yeah.
not really. I did think about pursuing an art minor because I think that would have helped, like, if I was to do, like, front end for a company, like maybe a mix of front end and back end. But that fell through because I got scared that I would focus too much on my art instead of my CS, and I would kind of slack on my major because I focused on my minor. That chances are it wouldn't even help in the future, like, but yeah, I don't know. With our major, we also have a concentration. Like each person can have a concentration or just CS. Mine is software engineering. My friend is cybersecurity. There's just, I think, 3, 4, or 5 of them. I'm not really too sure, but
Mhm.
I consider that my little minor. I did air quotes.
Yeah. So software engineering, is that more like C++, like ground C level scripting, or like what is software engineering as far as you know?
Yeah. Um. Well, here's the thing. How I mentioned that this was the worst semester of my entire life.
Right.
I was actually supposed to take my first, like, specifically software engineering class this semester, CSC 445. But because it was already like a huge load, I finished all my humanities and social behaviors. I was supposed to take one of them to like this semester, but I already finished them. So I chose a tech elective, which is not a smart thing to add on top, but I chose to add doing that first. Okay, I was like, what? Did
Yeah,
someone just
that was me.
there? But I chose to add that instead of my CSE 445 class because I thought it was just a smarter move because I thought a tech elect would be easier. Turns out it's probably like the same amount of work. But I'm taking that class next semester. But as computer science, we are all supposed to take intro into software engineering, regardless of what concentration you have. It was very helpful. It wasn't specifically like software engineering, like obviously like a lot of it had to pertain to it, but it was just very helpful in organizing, like just organizing in group projects, and your entire major in your entire life, what you're going to do is group projects. No employer is going to be like, can you just finish this whole thing in one night? Thank you, bye. No. Here is your team of 4 or 5. He is the group leader. Anyone has any questions, go to him or her because equality. We are all equal and capable human beings. It's not just him or her, but whoever they are, go to them if you have any questions, and just divide up the work however you feel, regroup however often you want. So it was mainly stuff like that on how to be properly organized and equipped to handle these group projects.
Okay. And have you done any internships? Have you gotten into the workforce at all? What have you done to contribute to just tasting the real world?
So I have no idea what day it is. Is it the
They-
14th?
Yeah.
It's the 14th. Was I right? Oh my god. Sorry. Like I said, this was a horrible semester, so I'm trying to like ravel in the free time. I'm starting an internship on the 23rd. I should look into that just to be like solid and clear. Um, and like I said, the stuff that I learned in the intro to software engineering class, I use that in my interview, and they were so impressed that I knew all of these terms that I like learned and how to properly like work in a team, how to properly communicate, how to properly like whatever. And they chose to put me on, and I got really excited. Thank you.
Good job, Johnny. Do you want to disclose where you're going to be working or the title that you're going to have?
I'm just a software engineering intern. I'm working at Iridium. It's based in Chandler. I was so happy that I got an internship in Arizona. That's something that was kind of make or break. It had to be in Arizona. I really can't afford to like leave and go somewhere else, but like get an apartment, bring my car, like whatever, like figure out my whole living situation there. It would have just been too much for such a temporary amount of time. But if I knew Corona was happening, I wouldn't have narrowed my search.
Yeah. Especially during Corona. I mean, I had a I had an internship that like evolved into an actual like job. I got it in 2018 when I was a sophomore, and I was just learning how to work in a team, how to just understand user interface and user experience, UI and UX, and I got to eventually like automate the UI and UX to make sure like stuff didn't break. And I was very lucky to have that. But then they had some cash flow problems, and also the economy tanked, and the investors were like, "Hey, you're not profitable. We're gonna yeet half your staff." And then I got yeeted. So now I'm just chilling, doing some C++, some graph theory on the side, just learning all the stuff. So how do you like are you willing to do online courses now since like Corona started? Has the shift in college and the industry been significant to you, and do you think that's going to last in the future? What are your thoughts?
Well, for my internship, I'm working remotely. And obviously, I don't want to say that's a lot harder, but it really does change everything because in internships, you're supposed to get a mentor and kind of do a cycle where, okay, I'm going to work under you and then I'm going to work under someone else and I'm going to work under like blah, blah, blah. You're doing like a rotation to see like different aspects of the company and all that. Obviously, that's harder and possibly not even feasible. And just having an internship during this time is a huge blessing because if you think about it, like think about all the people who are getting laid off, all the people like who are having financial problems. The last thing that companies would want to keep is an intern that they don't need to pay, that is kind of a liability, not liability, but just like an extra item that they need to worry about. That sounds harsh, but it's just true in the business
Mhm.
sense. Like they're an unnecessary string of the company. But I think they do realize that life needs to go on, and if they can like educate people in the CS world through internships, they're going to keep doing it because while contact may have stopped, life will resume again, and they want these people who like know their company's workflow, who care about the company, who already knows the people, the process, everything.
Uh, That's actually really smart. For all the people that got laid off, what are some suggestions for you, from you to them on what they could be doing during this quote unquote free time during Corona?
They could be working out. I'm just kidding. Well, an online course, like you said, is really smart. Like, it's actually like really smart. Because just bettering yourself, not even in code, just in any aspect really during quarantine is still amazing for you. But just like if you learn not even code, if you learn algorithms, if you learn like math, if you learn anything that has to do with our major, then I think you're already doing yourself something better. But if you are in like already in college and you were looking for an internship and you didn't get one or got turned down or whatever, I say the absolute best thing for you to do is to work on some individual projects. Like if you're talking to an employer, and I've had this happen to me a couple of times, I didn't really work on any individual projects because it's just school, school, school. Why would I work on something for myself if I can already like make something for school even better than it already is? And it turns out that they really do appreciate um, seeing people who choose to pursue something even greater, which is themselves and their personal projects that aren't for school. They want to see your limits and your capabilities through what you specifically can do as an individual computer science major, like me. And like I said, I chose not to pursue that. But if I didn't get an internship, I was going to start working more on individual projects. And my internship is just for the summer. So that's kind of my plan to do during the next school year. Like just hash out these individual projects that hopefully impress employers.
Do you think you started doing internships at the right time, like the summer of junior to senior, or do you think you should have started sooner? When is it too soon to start looking for internships?
Okay, the world doesn't know this, but I tell you all the time that I wish I was you when I was your age. You started so early, and like that's not me saying like, okay, he started really early because like I don't know, he's young and naive. No, I'm saying you started really early because the earlier you start, the better. Like, look at me. I'm so much older than you. I'm literally like a sack of dust at this point. Like, I'm just kidding. But
You're young, you're gorgeous.
let me put it to you in perspective. Who would you hire? You know, like I may be closer to a degree, but you have so much more experience. You know, let's say someone with a degree versus experience. I would personally want experience, you know, like just the fact that you went through the training to know something doesn't mean like you actually kind of know it, you know? Like I've seen CS majors who literally don't even know how to code and they're where I am. I'm like, how are you still here? How have you not failed? But I would choose someone with experience because that shows like someone trusted them with their project, with their business, with their whatever, and they fulfilled the requirements, you know? So that is so important. I say it's never too early to start, whether it's an internship, whether it's personal projects, whether it's whatever. It will always help you and not hurt you.
One of the things that I learned right when I left in my internship or my job was download everything before you leave and put it on a flash drive or put it on GitHub because they will lock you out so fast. Like all of that personal progress is just gonna get left in the dust if you don't keep it. So I was lucky enough to like keep my computer from work, and I just downloaded everything I could, just all of the projects, whether I was working on it or not. I just took all of the code and I was just like, this is mine now. I'm gonna use this in the future. Thank you. So download your shit.
I don't know, because it's kind of a touchy thing, kind of like the academic integrity, like, because chances are they gave you a computer for security reasons, you know, and because they entrusted you with their code, it's I don't want to say a hush hush rule, or it's just I personally wouldn't do anything to jeopardize like their security, you know, especially if it's like they trusted me with their work and their ethics and their project and whatever. Like Iridium, it's a huge thing, you know, and to download kind of the code that you worked on, even if it is yours, when you are on like the contract or the payroll or the stipend or whatever, they really are entrusting you with their baby, and kind of downloading the code, even if it was completely yours, through that contract, now it's theirs. So it's kind of I don't want to say a breach, but they are kind of trusting you with their baby.
But
So,
you have to, I think you don't ever want to upload like passwords and usernames to GitHub. And I get that. But if you work on your own project, you should be able to keep like a carbon copy so that not to really show employers, but for your own toolbox. So like I create little tidbits to just optimize my code, and I kept those, and like it'll definitely help in the future. Not really, I mean, yes, I did keep all of the projects I worked on, but hardly any of them are probably going to be the same. And just knowing like the framework behind like a process, like life cycle of a whole, like you get a text message, you opt in, you redeem the offer, and then you cancel, and then just life cycles and understanding like how to work, like commenting all of your code is a thing, and then just knowing how to look back and using that as a toolbox. That's what I think it is more like. But I agree with you. I half agree with you because it is theirs, but you should also like keep it for yourself.
it just depends on the contract like that you sign. But if it is for like a huge corporation, I'm sorry, like Amazon, if you're working for them, chances are like you're just gonna work on a silly, I don't want to say a silly project, but you know, it's not something that's gonna be used. So yes, you can take it, because I, as sad as it's gonna sound, it's probably gonna end up in a either like a drawer somewhere, or like just they're gonna put it in the trash in their computer, you know. Like unfortunately that's just the reality of it, because you are just an intern, and it sucks, but at this point, at this early stage, you can't be trusted to do anything hardcore. But
Absolutely.
like that way you can take your code because it's not going anywhere. But if you are working for a startup and you want to take your code, you need to make sure it's okay, because that can be a huge like no and a breach of your contract, and that can just nullify all the experience that you just did because you wanted your code. So I say just better check with your superiors, better safe than sorry, because an internship is a huge thing, and if someone trusts you and you show that you can't be trusted, that will follow you for a long time. So
Okay.
better safe than sorry.
Yeah, check with them.
Yeah.
Not only do you learn experience in internships, but you also get all of these networking skills. And you're on LinkedIn, and there's two philosophies when it gets to LinkedIn: whether you connect with everyone in your company that you work on, or you connect with just the people that you work with. How would you connect if you got into you got into the internship? How are you gonna use your LinkedIn connections? Are you gonna everyone or just the people you work with?
I see reason for both, but probably the people I work directly with are people who know me, because you don't need to know how I code. Like they don't need to work with directly with me. They don't need to know how I code to know that I'm a extremely hard worker. If I don't know something, I will figure it out, you know? Like so, but as for everyone, if I don't really come in contact with them that often, I probably won't, because if they are asked like my ethics, how hard I work, how whatever, they're like, who's Johnny? What? There's a Johnny here? That would look even worse, than just not even having a reference, because that shows like your work kind of is unnoticed. So I would just stick to the people who I know and they know me, because they can like attest, if not to my code, to my character.
That's smart. Yeah, that's what I've been doing, just connecting with the people that I work with. One thing I have started doing is connecting with people that I want to connect with, and then send them a little message like, hey, this is me. I want to work with you for your company for free, because I just want just to work, because I get so bored home alone. I just need to work somewhere. I'm willing to like mop up throw up in the EOS fitness gym, honestly, at like 2 a.m. I'm that bored and I just need something to do. But am I going to actually do that? Probably not. Uh, how often do you procrastinate on all of your responsibilities? Do you wait like the night before, like you did at GCA? I'm assuming.
Do
Or
tomorrow. I'm kidding. But here, I'll show you. I'm not your average computer science person, let me tell you. I'm just very... When you're computer science, people expect everything to be online. Like for me, I always do, where is it? Like a weekly spread of like things to do and what I need. Like, it's just my everyday TikToks to make, like what to do like after quarantine, like here, and like stuff like my things to, oh wait, no, sorry, that's a drawing. Things to worry about list of just everything left in like the school year, and also like me like tracking progress or like my grades, and like here, like this is where like I kind of tracked my grades and all that. I track everything like on paper, so I can see like how it progresses, and like I ration my time out very wisely and strategically, so that way I can like have free time so I don't go crazy, and I can know the full scope of the situation so I don't go crazy.
Yeah, everyone needs a little escapism just to get out of their software engineering, computer science life, because junior year sucks. Beyond beyond TikTok, uh, do you make how many TikToks do you make a week?
I have stopped making TikToks because I just want... I don't know. I don't want to force creativity. Like here, let me show you what I chose to do in my free time. So I have this thing that is kind of a glass where I can make, like, where I can just draw, or I can write, or I can whatever. It goes on my lap and it's like a portable desk. I did nothing. I just want to clear that up. I did nothing. And then it just shattered out of nowhere. Like, and I literally thought it was the most gorgeous thing. It was literally the most gorgeous mess I've ever cleaned. I even saved some of the broken glass. Like, look at how like cool that is.
Yeah.
But I put the broken glass on this thing I made. You can't really see it. It's supposed to like shimmer in the light. It really does in real life. But it's surrounding the hands to make it look like the earth is like breaking behind as they touch.
Did you make that?
Yeah.
That's really good.
It was originally like the Brooklyn Bridge, but it wasn't really my aesthetic, so I decided to change it.
But yeah, that's really good. Why don't you document like you making art? That could be a TikTok, just like at 3 times speed, just.
I really thought about it. I'm not gonna lie, but just the fact that I was handling broken glass with my bare hands, and I really did not consider gloves a thing. I have like a band-aid on, like one here, like I literally had like 5 band-aids on at once because I literally just kept cutting myself, and I literally kept forgetting about gloves. But I want to do that one day.
Yeah, that'd be really good. And then you could become famous because all of this art that you're making. They're good art. It is. I think you could make your own website. I think that would be a really cool project for a front-end developer, just by hand or semi by hand, make your own website using Ruby or other interesting languages that make the website a little bit more dynamic, and then have that be a resume, because that would be different and creative.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I've only seen one person do it, and they made their website like a scrolling through game. So the character is the applicant, and he just jumps from one accomplishment to education to experience, and like works through a little game like experience. So make a website of your resume. That's my advice. I'm probably gonna make like, I don't know. I need to find a clever way of showing myself off that I'm different. Do
So
you think
really
being
quick,
different?
while we're talking about this subject, like I said, I really like Swift, but having like 5 Swift projects on my resume would not help. Like having 5 is just as useful as having 1. So having, I say like mixed media, that's like an art term, but having a project with Java using graphic user interface and C++ to show an algorithm, then Swift to show an app, and blah, 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 like, you know, those show how capable you are, not just 1,000 of the same project, just different topics. Sorry, I just wanted to get that out there because that is a really important aspect that people don't cover.
Yeah. So have you made a list of different projects you want to build? Like, I want to do a bank system in C++, and then I want to make Minecraft in Java, and then like, I don't even want to touch C# because it's Microsoft and I don't trust them. So have you made any apps on Swift? Have you put them on your phone?
Oh yeah, I've made so many apps on Swift for projects that I get to pick. Most people choose the like just basic route using Java or C++, but I recently chose to do a project in Swift, and my professor liked it so much, and I finished early because, like I said, I managed my time. He presented it to the class. He asked me for screenshots and all that stuff, and I got so happy. I was like, thank God all this hard work paid off.
That's good. I'm proud of you.
Oh.
That's really good. I got to hear about your struggles in assembly. How did you even start to code in assembly, which isn't that like below C, where they just take and then put it into the memory? Like, how was that?
So here's the thing that this is gonna sound like I'm bashing ASU because I completely am. When I was in the beginning, I really didn't care. It was like I didn't have people like do my work for me or whatever. That's obviously cheating. Like I said, I'm a very hard worker, but I wasn't invested enough into learning. I was more just like, okay, I'm here because I have to be, which I don't recommend. It has bitten me in the butt several times because I was like that in the beginning. Don't be like that in the beginning. You can end up like me. And one thing specifically that I did was I always wanted an amazing schedule. So I just aimed for Tuesday, Thursday, and if not that, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. To do my Tuesday, Thursday schedule, I had to go to Polytech. And it sounds crazy. Like it sounds like I'm not even answering your question, but this is like the backstory that like answers it.
Go for it.
I went to Polytech, and I thought I was getting really good professors. Turns out I wasn't, because they were good in another subject, quote unquote. Well, actually not quote unquote. But when you look on Rate My Professor, don't just look at their overall rating. Look at the rating for that specific class, because that's where I got bit in the butt. It turns out my professors really were not the best in the subject that I was taking them for. And with assembly language and all that stuff, like when you really start to get like nitty gritty in computer science, I didn't learn that. So I basically had to kind of make up for it with, I don't want to say a peer tutor. It was more like it's more of a friend helping a friend, and the deeper you get in computer science, you're going to rely on your friends more and more. Because like I said, you form a bond similar to like a workplace. You have your little group that you kind of bounce ideas off of. So I basically had to have someone else kind of teach me and make up for it. And like I said, I still don't know all the parts that I'm supposed to know when it comes to like assembly language, when it comes to just different stuff here and there, because I chose having a good schedule over the pursuit of knowledge in the beginning, which like I said, don't do. It has really bitten me in the butt, but I'm still trying to just individually learn. I'm trying to just do what I can to be the best that I can.
So you mentioned schedules. So as a high school student, I have every class every day, basically, on a normal day. Uh, how how is college different in schedules? And what's your advice for morning, afternoon, and night classes?
I'm a morning person. Like it's literally like almost 10 o'clock. I've been awake for like 4 hours. I'm not gonna lie. So mornings are my ideal time to just get stuff done. Um, in high school, it's like you're in school. I don't know about like, I'm just gonna make up a number. You're in school for 40 hours and you study for 8, right? That's the example that they gave me during orientation. But in college, it's the opposite. You're in school for 8 hours and you study for 40. If that
Gotcha.
makes sense. Like that's how I was able to have my Tuesday, Thursday. I wasn't in school for that long. I literally was in school for maybe like 8 hours a week, like literally. Like I was in school for 6 hours a week. Oh my gosh, that was so nice, by the way. It was nice in the moment, but like I said, it really bit me in the butt. But I had to study a lot and make up for it. So just know what goes around comes around, and if you skip on something else, it will come back around.
So did you stack them all on top of each other? So it's like 7 a.m., 8, 9, 10, and then you're done for the day.
Oh,
Or
that's exactly what I did. And the classes where I actually did sacrifice a lot just for the sake of having a good schedule, those are the only C's that you will see on my transcript. The classes where I got a C, that those weren't my first choice, but those were the last classes I picked, and I chose a terrible professor with a good time over a good professor with a bad time. Like just because I didn't want to wait an extra hour on campus and waste an hour in between classes and whatever. Yeah.
so you mentioned rate my professor. What is that? And is it like a Yelp for professors?
Yes. It's imagine like Yelp for chefs of different restaurants, and the chefs are the professors, and each person rates like each dish of the professor. Each dish is the classes, so you get to see exactly like, oh, they put too much Parmesan. Oh, they assigned way too much homework. Like, it's kind of like you get to see the reviews and the details about the reviews. Oh, lectures were lifeless and boring, which I read straight from one of my professors this semester, but I still took them.
Uh, how big are your classes? Are they like 100 people, 33? How many people are usually in a lecture for computer science?
For more general classes like CSE 110 and like the lower level, most engineering disciplines need some sort of computer science class. Like my friend who's industrial engineering, she needed to take a CS class, so she chose like C++. And so those classes are like more like 300-ish, I would say. They are huge. If you think you were going to ask a question in there, best go to office hours. But classes that are like for me, more high division, I'm like blanking. I don't know if that's grammatically correct. I'm so sorry. But
Okay.
that are higher, it's more like I'd say 80. 80 is a good number.
80 people in the class?
Hmm.
Wow, that's a lot.
It really
Uh,
is, but
yeah.
you would be surprised how little that is in like once you get here. Don't get me wrong, one of my classes this semester was still like 300 people, but when, like I said, on lower division, when you're just taking your general studies and whatever, you're in a class with literally 300 people, except for your one English class that has 30. But for the most of the time, you're with 300 people, and the higher you go, the less people there are in each class. So you start off with a lot of people, and since you started off like with the worst possible scenario and it just gets better, you feel like 80 people were like a close-knit group of friends, instead of just a bunch of strangers learning the same subject.
What would you recommend for summer classes? Have you taken any summer semesters, or are you just taking it traditional fall, spring, fall, spring?
I want to avoid any and all summer classes. I'm not gonna lie, I really feel like summer classes are a waste of time and money because it's, I don't know, I feel like it's similar to the Polytech example that I gave. You are taking it at a better time, but you're kind of skipping on the educational process because you're kind of like fast forwarding through the knowledge. And not only that, it is not really worth the bang in the buck. Like when you can apply yourself and learn all of these subjects at once and how they tie into each other, you're kind of unnaturally like spreading them out for like $2,000 more to not really comprehend the knowledge all at once,
Yeah, yeah. If you could look back and just change anything from your college experience so far, whether it be classes or dormitory or whatever, what would you change?
Corona. I'm kidding. I'd probably change my major. I'm also kidding. But realistically, something that I would change, I don't know. I really didn't have control over this because of like my financial situation, but I definitely would have stayed in the dorms. I think even now, especially, there are so many distractions at home, and I can't even take a final with my parents, like without my parents coming in every like 3 seconds. But when you live in the dorms, I feel like that's a full immersion into your major, especially with Tooker and the engineering dorms. And I got to see how it made my friends flower. Like all of my friends lived in Tooker, and it kind of hurt to be like not there and like have like be in the same Snapchat group chat with all of them and be like, hey, do you guys want to come down at 2 a.m. to get toast at the freaking dining hall or whatever? I'm like, I want to be there. But yeah, I would totally change that because that really was a huge thing for me. Kind of still is, but let me think. Something else, like I said, choose good teachers. Don't skip out on like good teachers just for good times. Like I said, it feels so good in that moment, but it really bites you in the butt. Um, Always make friends. Like, trust me, I'm ambiverted, and when I am surrounded by new people, my introverted side really comes through. And I hate introducing myself because I just think everyone's gonna hate me. Like, oh my gosh, like, just sit down and shut up. Like, like in my head,
Yeah,
it's, if you don't know anyone, that's even more cause to introduce yourself because it's better to have someone that you know in the class. Like, hey, can I ask you about this homework that I don't know when it's due? Yeah, it's due, blah, blah, blah. It's so much better to have a friend than to ask the professor all these dumb questions, Always introduce yourself. And through introducing yourself, you're going to make like this close-knit group of people who are like kind of your best friends in the major, who are your like team. So it's really nice and handy. I think that might be it. But
so you didn't live on campus
no,
this year?
I didn't live on campus any of the years.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. What made you do that? Financial
Yeah,
situations? Okay. So you just lived at home, or did you live in an apartment with people?
I just lived at home. I try and make like my room, like my space. Like that's why it was so important to have like that freaking painting. Like I want this room to be like my safe space, like have it be like my aesthetic and be something that I feel like a place where I feel comfortable. You know?
Mm-hmm.
If I had a lock on my door, that would make it a lot easier. But we're still making it work.
Well, thank you for coming on, Johnny. I had a great time. Hopefully, you had a good time too. I learned a lot about not stealing company data, uh, going on to campus, and avoiding student debt as much as possible while also having a good time, uh, along with just making friends and not burning bridges. Thanks for coming on. Next episode on It Is What It Is. I don't know yet. I'll figure it out. Maybe talking about the stock market and how everything's crashing and will crash in the future.